Considering Pokemon is a fantasy video game filled with fire-breathing dragons and failed clones amongst other things, we shouldn't really expect every single design decision to be filled with logic and reason. However, there are certain things within Pokemon that you just can't help but question. Today, I'm going to cover the 8 dumbest things about and within Pokemon, and don't get too offended that I'm talking trash about your favourite game. I love Pokemon just as much as you guys. This video is just a joke. 5 likes would be really appreciated for my next video to be uploaded within the next day or two. I jump straight into today's little list. First up on this list is actually the first character you interact with in the very first Pokemon games, Professor Oak. Now, I'm not going to talk about how Professor Oak seemingly can't remember his own grandson's name, or how he can telepathically tell you not to use your bicycle indoors. No, those two things are too obvious, and those two things make sense with logic and reason. Instead, I'm going to talk about the quote-unquote poker tips that Professor Oak gives you in the official Pokemon Red and Blue strategy guide. Because the tips that Professor Oak gives you makes him out to be a total scumbag. It makes it seem like he knows nothing about Pokemon despite his years of research. His tips include that there is only one Master Ball in Pokemon, use it wisely. He suggests using it on a Pokemon like Fearow or Tentacruel. He also says that apparently if you capture all 150 Pokemon, if you go to the Game Freak studio instead of Don City, the Game Freak head director will give you Mew. How if you surf outside the SSN and go to the cargo area with the truck, there'll be a special present, which we know is a blatant lie. He says that Mirror Move is a dragon type attack. How if your Pokemon get knocked out while fighting Team Rocket, they will steal them from you. Fear mongering. And he also tells you to teach HMs to your favourite Pokemon, which is just total scumbag advice. Professor Oak, for a professor who apparently has decades of research when it comes to Pokemon, is just completely dumb. Number 2 on our list of the dumbest things in Pokemon is how a Pokemon can't fly or surf or cut, etc, without knowing them specific HMs, without knowing them attacks. It's ridiculous to me how a Pokemon who is literally designed to fly, like Pidgeot can't fly without knowing that attack, or a Pokemon like Lapras, who is literally designed to surf. It's literally its sole purpose. It can't surf, it would just drown without knowing the attack surf. It's just ridiculous to me how those Pokemon can't use their simple motor skills without actually knowing them attacks. In Pokemon Ranger, Pokemon knew field moves that they could use outside of battle. And that's something I'd like to see introduced into the main series of games. Pokemon know field moves, and if you want them to be able to use them attacks in battle as well, you just simply teach them TMs. That would be a good fix for this, but it's been 6 generations now. I don't see Game Freak using that suggestion. Next up is how you need a specific pair of shoes to actually be able to run in Pokemon games. This one is self-explanatory. I have never been unable to run because of the pair of shoes I was wearing in real life. So why in a video game does the shoes you're wearing matter? You should just be able to run everywhere in a Pokemon game without having to wear certain shoes. It's just ridiculous. This one's self-explanatory and really doesn't matter, but yeah. Number 4 on the dumbest things in Pokemon is the Viridian City Gym Guide. Viridian City Gym Guide is apparently illiterate because apparently even he doesn't know the Viridian Gym Leader's identity. But if he read the sign that was directly right next to him, he'd be able to know who it is. It's Giovanni. Apparently Floyd Mayweather, who's illiterate in real life, used to work at the Viridian City Gym before he became a professional boxer. I wouldn't say this to his face in real life, Jesus Christ. But yeah, how doesn't this guy know the Viridian Gym Leader? The name of the gym leader is right next to him. Next up is how it took the people in the Pokemon universe 15 years to realise Fairy-type Pokemon exist and aren't affected in the slightest by Dragon-type attacks and resist Fighting-type attacks and stuff like that. Yes, this one's a little bit silly because it can be explained, but I just think it's ridiculous how someone like Whitney, who'd use a Clefairy, would be thinking her Clefairy was getting beaten up by Fighting-type Pokemon, where in actual fact, it was resisting all of its attacks. It's just a funny mental image to me, and it probably isn't to anyone else. But how fairy types are a recent discovery in the Pokemon universe after however many years is just totally preposterous to me, and that's why it makes it onto this list, as silly as it is. Number 6 is how Team Rocket have an obsession with a very, very average Pokemon in Ash's Pikachu. Ash's Pikachu is a Pokemon that has struggled even against untrained starter Pokemon like Snivy in Generation 5. And Team Rocket's efforts and Poké Dollars would have been much better spent on one of the numerous legendary Pokemon that they've encountered over the years in the numerous movies that have taken place. Team Rocket could have brought home an excellent Pokemon for Giovanni by now and could have retired years ago, but they've got a very strange fixation on a very, very average Pokemon, even though they've encountered much stronger Pokemon. And I've never understood that, but whatever floats their boat. Number 7 is wild encounters, and how you constantly get ambushed by a barrage of wild Pokemon. I feel like in real life it would be very, very easy to avoid stepping on a rat or a pigeon in knee-high grass. In caves and in the ocean it makes sense. I feel like you would be getting constantly attacked by Zubats, Geodudes, and even Tentacle. Tentacle could sneak up on you in the water, but in grass it's very easy to see where you're going, and in areas like the Viridian Forest, constantly getting attacked by Caterpies and Weedles and Metapods and other Pokemon just gets so frustrating, and I just feel like it'd be so easy to avoid in real life. I feel like the mechanics should be how it works in Generation 5, where you see some grass rustling. There could be numerous pieces of grass rustling, and some pieces of grass might be unavoidable, but I feel like it should be how it works in Generation 5. You see some rustling grass, and if you want to encounter a wild Pokemon, you go into that grass rather than them just attacking you completely randomly. That's just my 2 cents. Though. Last but most certainly not least is not being able to catch a Pokemon that's fainted. Maybe this is a byproduct of watching the anime, seeing Ash Ketchum capture Pokemon that he is very clearly knocked out, because as a child I swear I always thought that Pokemon were supposed to be knocked out before you threw a Pokeball at them. It just made sense to me, rather than just lowering their health by 90% and then hoping luck carries you to capturing the Pokemon. If I was to rework the mechanics, I'd say that you are allowed to knock the Pokemon out, and it will give you an option. Hey, do you want to capture this Pokemon? Yes, no. If you say yes, you switch to being the trainer and start throwing Pokeballs. Maybe after a certain amount of Pokeballs, the Pokemon wakes up from being fainted and yeah, starts with 50% health once again. If you don't want to capture the Pokemon, you just clickly say no and you leave the battle. Heck, maybe it could ask you if you want to capture the Pokemon at the beginning of the battle, so it doesn't waste any time. That's how I'd rework the mechanic, because as a child, I always kind of thought that the current mechanic, how you capture Pokemon, is a little bit dumb. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Feel free to leave me a comment if you think there's anything I've missed out while making this list. And yeah, 500 likes would be really appreciated on this video for my next video to be uploaded within the next couple of days, within the next day or two. I'm trying to upload as consistently as possible from now on. And feel free to subscribe so you don't miss any more of my future Pokemon related videos. I make news videos, top 10s, stuff like that. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed. See you guys in the next video. Peace out. I may have spoken about some things I perceive as dumb about Pokemon in this video, but while editing this video, I did some very dumb things like deleting my original commentary. I may have tried to make some things in Pokemon look dumb in this video, but this video made me feel very, very dumb. So, GG Pokemon.